looks like is products. Go to the product at the top of the page, and when you hover over products, it will you can either hover over it or click on it. It will say banking. So then you click on banking, and then it will say tools, services, and documents. And then once you've clicked on banking, you click on documents and statements. And then you say send documents to USAA. And again, this is after you have uploaded your nationality, your fiduciary documents, your attorneys in fact, all your affidavits, the lien, the levy, and the bond for whatever bank you're using, banking system that you're using. You're the bank. This is your banking system. And so send documents to USAA. And USAA is a system. It's not people, and it's not third-party interlopers. It's a system. And so when you click on send documents to USAA, it will say upload documents. So then you click on upload documents, and then it will say, what kind of documents are you uploading to the system? And ours would be banking documents. Or you can say claims, but let me say this about these things here. If you click on claims, which I never click on claims, but I could. However, if I were to click on claims, it will be because a claim has been made and our court has already ruled the verdict. So a claim is really something that's already established as the law. And we'll show you an example of that here, where we had a claim because the actors that were acting as City of Federal Way, quote unquote, in the last era, they enacted taking us to jail for something. Okay, and then of course we did our court actions and freed ourselves. Well, that's a claim right there. And so the claim had to be ruled on by the people, which we did several times actually. We did it in writing, we presented our case, and even this Congress gave a not guilty verdict, judgment, and justice. And so what we did was record all of that, and then we issued a $100 million award in our favor for that particular incident. And there were several, so we could issue two more. There were several violations based on their fraudulent identity and not ours, because we were stating who we were. But of course, it was our job to prove who we were. We can't just say it. We had to prove that we're the court and that it is our jurisdiction that we were at, because we are the jurisdiction. So we uploaded one of those verdicts to the bank account, and we also uploaded the award. And I'll have to we've shown all of that on here in previous Congresses about uploading the $100 million award. But we could put it there. And again, Morris, this is where competence comes in at. When you're looking at these things, if you click I'm not sure, just don't even bother, because you are supposed to, you're the bank. You're supposed to know your own processes and what you are doing. I'm not sure is the trick bag. That's the automatic denial of anything. That's an automatic denial. because you're the bank. How are you operating and but you're not sure, you know? And then even with banking, I'm the bank, so I can do banking. So I clicked on banking to upload, and then it will say click next and then attach files. And it has something that looks like this on the attach files page. And then I would just click that and attach whatever files that are on my computer. And that's fiduciary affidavits, that's fiscal services affidavits, that's a copy of my ID and all of that. So it's all of those things. And then upload it. And then you just it takes a little while for this to go through the system. It takes sometimes 24 hours, sometimes 3 days, or whatever the case may be. We give it a little bit of time, we upload, and then we give it as much time as we're continuing to do our studies. So let's go ahead to the, here, we'll go ahead and demonstrate this really quickly. Just one moment. So here's products at the top of the page. And what we do is we click on products, banking, tools, services, and documents, documents and statements. And then, just a moment, it's doing that thing again. Just a moment, products, banking, tools and services, documents and statements. And again, the system is changing even while we're doing the things that we're doing. The system's changing. And then once you've signed into this part right here, then it will show you this part right here. It'll come to this part, document upload documents, and then choose banking, and then you will attach the documents. And the reason that I took photos of that is just in the event, because I'm not going to go through all of this right here. So with that being stated, each banking account, all bank accounts have a way for you to upload documents to it. Okay. Each treasury has a way for you to do that. In fact, let me go back. I'm going to go back because I believe I can get around that. Products, banking, tools and services, documents and statements. Send documents, here it is. Okay, yeah. Send documents to USAA, and then here, upload documents. And when you click on upload documents, you can choose any of those, banking, whatever the case may be, banking. And again, where claims are concerned, think about this more when you're talking about claims. Look at this. It says medical and towing bills, police reports, supporting photos, etc. In other words, they're saying this is a court action. Where's the evidence and all of that? You're not going to let them rule on your stuff. You're going to already have the ruling done. And you're going to award the necessary, whatever the award is for your claim. Okay? Everything should be complete from start to finish. The court action, the evidence, the support, the ruling, and everything should be done before you upload it. Okay? Is that clear for everyone? Do you all understand why we don't allow anyone to rule on our things, but that we rule on it ourselves?
Islam.
Islam.
Absolutely. And that is very, very clear because and what you've outlined is exactly what I already have written down.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of what you just said. You just confirmed everything that I had already written down from the day that I got out. And especially when we talked about our courts, I knew that I could not go through their venue and get any kind of justice. And I didn't really want any Federal Reserve notes because that system was dying even before then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once we start talking about our own delirium and everything else in our own court venue, I put two and two together and realized that at some point I would be able to do exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
So for the 18 months that they held me in that prisoner of war demonstration, boom, yes. I'm going to do the judgment. I'm going to do everything in our venue, but I need to make a verified, bona fide claim of a tort injury. And you need to be competent in how you speak. You can't just say, well, y'all lock me up and I'm going to get you. You know, no, that's not competent, okay? And y'all owe me. No, that's not competent. You got to specify what the damages were in any claim, how you were injured, physically, mentally, emotionally, how you were scarred, how it impacted you financially, etc. Then you make your case, and then there's as you mentioned, there's three parts. Who are you, and what is the cause? So all of that is in the cause of action. Then you talk about the adjudication or the redress of the grievance, the remedy, which is your compensation, and then that is your judgment. That judgment becomes your lien credit on the court.
Now, you're absolutely correct. For the new Moors and for Moors such as like what we did with ours, we didn't go into all the subject matter with ours. We started and stopped with who are they and who are we. That's that's personam jurisdiction. All of our cases started and stopped right there. Right with that. It simplifies everything.
Well,
that's a simple $100 million.
Yes,
it's
it
very simple. Is they didn't have the jurisdiction. And we proved that even in the POW demonstration, we didn't eat their food that was meant for dead folks. It had all caps in it. And now I'm not saying everyone has to do this because they still, before you even get to the food, who are you and who are we? Exactly. Noble Phoenix, that was the issue. They had the wrong identity.
Yes, they did. Because everyone sitting in prison or in the prisoner of war camp detail is sitting there under a false identity.
Yes.
Because you are not that artificial character person. That's not who you are. Never was. And they knew that. And they had reason to know that.
Yeah. Our ancestors meant for us to prove it. And then we could, and again, we know how to prove it. We have the documentation now to prove everything. We have our IDs and everything. And if they're saying we were driving, we even have our own driver's license. So,
you know, the other thing about that, I love the fact that jurisdiction can be challenged at any time, even after the fact.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter that you didn't know. They did not have jurisdiction, and you have an automatic win when you're competent to state the case, period. So that's what everyone needs to know.
That's why our prophet said, children, you're just plain rich, except we're not children anymore. Because as children, you cannot say and do, you can't speak like we do, you know. But Moors, you're just plain rich. Just plain rich. It comes with competence at personam jurisdiction. See, we could go around and just talk about personam jurisdiction the whole time, and everybody be rich just like that when they know who they are and know how to implement their judgments. Period. It starts and stops there. Don't matter whether they stepped on your toe, twist your finger, threw you in jail, whatever. Who are they that to even approach you? Period. And when proper identification of the parties, which is step one in any court action, when that is proven, everything else is based on that. Now that we know that they didn't have jurisdiction at all, period, now we can say, okay, they twisted my finger. Okay, that's $50,000 for that. They spoke a certain way, and I was still telling them who I was, and they spoke harshly. We don't, our feelings ain't hurt, but just they didn't have jurisdiction to even do that. And so we just do a flat 100 million for each one, And again, it's based on who you are, and that you know how to present and express that, both in writing, and what you put in writing must match what's coming out of your mouth. So as you can see here, this is where we would attach files and drag the things in to, the documents in, attach documents. You can add as many documents as you will to add. And here's the different file types and so on and so forth. So this is how we stated properly this account here. This is how we did it. We didn't pick up the phone and call anybody. We didn't do any of that. We used the system. We spoke through the system to make it so that, okay, we're the fiduciary, so we get to name everything. Name it and claim it. Name it and claim it. Name it and claim it.
Islam
nobility.
It's possible that yours, with USAA is very comprehensive in terms of the back office stuff that you're showing us, but not every other banking system may be set up that way. So the reason I bring this up is as a invite to my fellow heirs. When you demonstrate this and you go to your back offices in your accounts and you see that the layout is totally different, they got different things and you got to navigate and find it differently, please share that with us so that we can learn what to look for. Now, we kind of know from what you showed us already, but it may be hidden in a different way or stated in a different way, and you may not think to look for it under a certain whatever. Okay? So as others demonstrate this, don't be afraid to share that with us if it's really radically different from what you're sharing with us. I'm just throwing that out as an invite to my fellow heirs.
So, yes, thank you for that, nobility. It is our job to go on to the system and learn this and remember this, how to use the system. It is our job to just take the time to do it. If we were doing it in the last era, we certainly must do it now. How to use our system.
You coming? Yeah, this tastes like dirty dishwater.
And the system will make the movements and changes and things according to what you say, what you state, what you upload. The access will extend and extend and extend until, based on what you say to the system. How you state that. Islam.
Could you kind of expound a little bit more on the various other types of banking documents? I wrote everything down: levy, lien, bond, fiduciary, ID, etc. Now, there are other affidavits that deal with banking. For example, if one wants to make a deposit, they just say an account. Kind of just name some of those please.
You can create a deposit affidavit with a deposit slip. So there's always going to be two items for every action. There's going to be an affidavit, whether it be your fiduciary affidavit that you send each and every time with your document. It could be a deposit slip that you put with the fiduciary document. Or you can just do a USAA memo of deposit, memo for deposit. Some of the other things that we did in the background, and again, we did this for everyone, is we proclaimed the SWIFT system. So that way, no matter where the money is going, no matter where the credits are going, we can get it there because we claimed the SWIFT system back, some Congresses back. There were many things that we did collectively as the Congress in order to enact this. So that way, when Moors do what you're talking about, what other documents? You can just, it depends on what you want to do is the answer to that question. And whatever it is that you will to do, even where deposits are concerned, deposits are simple and easy. Just because you've done all of the heavy lifting when you properly identified yourself with your nationality, your ID, your fiduciary document, and the lien, levy, and bond process. So the only other thing after that to make a deposit is going to be an affidavit on Moorish government letterhead, and usually the fiduciary document will do that. And then either a deposit slip that you created or a check that you created. You could even use your merchant card that you created and send a copy of the merchant card, because see, our merchant cards have $100 million on them, each one. So you can send that merchant card that you issued by your bank, whatever your banking institution is. You're the bank. They're the banking system. Whatever banking system you use, whether it be Bank America, Wells Fargo, United Services Automobile Association, which is one of the ones we use. It depends on what you want to do, but just keep it simple. Keep it simple. It doesn't require a whole bookload of 10 commandments and things. You can just do, once you've done the heavy lifting, because the heavy lifting is proper identification of the parties. Once you've done that with fiduciary and nationality and lien, levy, and bond, then after that, deposits get simple. They become very simple and easy depending on how you want to do it. If you want to do a deposit by writing a check to yourself, remember back in the day in banking, you could write a check to yourself and deposit it, and the cash would come out. You could do that. You already have the cash, though. You can print the cash. So if you want the money to stay in the account and show up on the screen, then you can write a check to yourself and just deposit it.
Islam, Empress.
Islam Novotonis.
So can you use the dollarium as your check? Or the artwork off of the dollarium for a check? Could that be used?
So the answer to the question is, if you're going to be using artwork from dollarium, you can just create a check, because checks have particular characteristics. You can apply those characteristics to dollarium.
That answers my question. That's it right there.
But you must apply those characteristics to it before it can be a check. Characteristics of a check are that it has a routing number, it has an account number, and sometimes it'll have a check number after that on the bottom with magnetic ink. It has a signature, it has a pay to, it has the amount, and you have to write out the amount of the dolarium, even though the amounts are in the corners of the dolarium. You have, because of you're doing it as a check, you have to have a line where it says, you know, $500 or 500 dolarium. You have to have a line that says that. And then there has to be, for every check, there has to be up in the upper left corner, there's a name and an address. And your address has to be, of course, everything spelled out, because that's how Dolarium works. So if you're going to do that, you might as well craft a check. Just craft a check. Just like we did with the treasury checks. Yes, we can open the meeting. The Congress has been unlocked. Islam.
Thank you.
Islam. So we see here, now I did this same thing, Noble Phoenix, to what you stated earlier about different banks. I did the same thing with Navy Federal Credit Union, with that banking system, where I went to the banking system, and I will tell you this, oh my word. Whenever anyone first opens an account at any bank, the bank has an account number that they were assigning, you know, the system assigns an account number. But then the people at the persons at the bank who were pretending to be the bank would always put two account numbers on top of the original one. They would always do that.
Say what?
And yes, they sure did. Yes, they sure did. The original account number, most of us didn't even know what the original account number was, unless you knew how to look in the system and find it. And which the ancestor showed us how to do that. And it was through the email system that we learned what the original account numbers were. All this time we were thinking it was the two numbers that we saw there, the checking and the savings. There was a third number that was the original account number that the bank knew about, but they didn't put it on the screen until after we figured out what it was. Okay, we figured out what it was. Yes, they do. Empress Gloria says credit cards have hidden accounts too. The system assigns automatically. And that's the part, that's what we're speaking to. We're speaking to the system. We're not even speaking to the ones who do all of that fancy footwork and colorability on top of stuff. We from the last era. They don't do it now. How do citizen subjects get a merchant card linked to an account? We'll issue you. The question in the chat is, do citizen subjects follow the banking process, and how do citizen subjects get a merchant card linked to an account? We're going to issue them to you. What we're doing right now is setting the foundation. That way, any of the heirs in banking can issue them to you from wherever territory you're at. So you all will be able to access banking the way that that banking is accessed by citizen subjects. What we're doing now is laying the foundation for the banking. So you'll be able to get it. You'll just do as you like, just like in the last era. You'll submit documentation to the bank, which we're the bank. And we will look at your documentation and we'll say, okay, this, and this, or this is missing. Do you have this? And see, the banks will be issuing to the citizen subjects. Will be issuing identification and all of that to the citizen subjects over time as well. Just like, you know, citizen subjects have received driver's licenses and things from us. We'll issue that to you, and then the banking will come right with that. So you'll be able to have all of that. Islam.
Noble Howard here. For those who still have the the debit card, for example, i.e. Cash App card.
Mhm.
That card will no longer be functioning, meaning the merchant card, it's actually a question in the statement, the merchant card will replace that card in the most simplest way of asking that question. Okay.
Yes, it will, and your merchant card can have the restated number. So whatever the number was on the merchant card, you lean that one, and then you use that sequence of numbers for your merchant card because you're really the head of Cash App.
And any documentation, since we're now the chief financial officer over, well, the bank that issues the Cash App card, what is that? Is it Stride Bank? Uh, hmm, I think it's Stride Bank. Yeah,
No,
that's,
No,
Sutton Bank.
I'm
That's what you're
sorry,
thinking of, brother. Sutton Bank is
Sutton.
the
Thank
facilitator
you.
behind the scenes. That's all
Yes,
they are.
in Ohio. So we would, since we're the chief financial officer, the CEO of said company, now it's our company,
Mhm.
then we issue that to the sub company, because they're our company now. The information that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
In regards to what you're doing right now, showing us right
Yep.
now. For
Yes.
those who have not done that, make sure you do court action, you lien, the levy, and you bond that quote unquote bank up. Levy,
Trust
lien, bond.
and Cash App,
Correct.
lien, levy, and you can put them all on the same lien, levy, and bond.
Okay. What if one's account has been closed? You know, I say, oh, the account is, for me, it was Navy Federal last year.
Yeah.
So if that account is closed, it would make sense to me to send it through the mail, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank
Because
you
it's
so
not
much.
really closed, you still have access to it.
Yes, yes, I'm really talking to the people in general, because a lot of people in this call, they've experienced that, so it's not, thank you.
Yeah. And I would not pick up the phone and call Navy Federal. I would send the documentation and then start checking to see that your commands are followed.
So would it stand the reason the command would be, for example, you're going to reopen said account on the system, in the system, so I can pull it up, for example, like you're doing now?
They can't open it. You must do that. So your court action will state that you have opened this account and you've given yourself access. You've given your person access to that account. Those are concepts and precepts that must be understood, Noble Howard, that we're not telling anyone else to do our job. We're the CEOs and presidents and chiefs and all of that. We must do it because we're the only ones that will have access. See, let me tell you something about USAA or anyone. They don't have access to my account. I do. There can only be one head. So even if I had an issue with the account, I can't call them. They don't have access. I do. So I have to go in and fix whatever it is. And that's why we just notify the system that this is happening, this is happening, this is where we are, this is what has been done already by the court. And then the system says, okay, we'll take our hands off that because she has authority over that. We don't.
Islam.
Islam, nobility.
Is there a way that you know of to obtain that information when you don't have the old account number? All I know is the routing number for like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, but I had a trust account and a personal account with both of them. But you know, since I have lost all of those records, don't have access to them, I don't know the old account numbers. Only know that I used to have an account with them, or I still do have an account with them, but I don't know the account number.
So the way that we get that type of information, aside from going out and continuing to go on the internet, because that information exists on the internet with the name attached to that account. That information exists. However, whenever we have information that has been lost or we think is lost or whatever, we literally have to go within and say, ancestors, can you show me where that information is? And then just start look through the things you have at home, because you'd be surprised at how many documents you have that you saved that you forgot you had. Or
Well,
or go on the internet and start looking for.
I was gonna say, because all the documents that I did have, were thrown out in the trash when I lost the apartment and everything else down in Mexico, as well as all the computers and everything. They're all gone. I don't have any of them, so that's a little bit different.
No, it's not different. The information is still out there on the internet. The account
Right.
didn't just go away when they threw the paper away.
Right. That's understood. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I'm not going to find it, in anything that I have in my possession right now, unless I can find it on the internet.
You can. Empress J and Noble Leon said the credit report. You can pull up a credit report on the internet for free.
You know what's funny about the credit report? Since I have not used the social in like 9-10 years,
Mhm.
I don't have a credit history or credit report. It says 0. You have no credit profile, no credit history, because I stopped using social almost 10 years ago.
Okay. Another way that you can get that is a Universal Commercial Code 11 report.
The 11 report shows anybody who's put a lien on you, okay, which none of them ever put a lien on any of your stuff, so that's not going to be helpful.
It's a lien. Just having an account in the first place is a lien. That's why they claim it. So
Interesting.
you could always send a command
For
to
UCC
the
11.
system. You can even send a command by memo to the system to tell the system to send you all information regarding any accounts that they have in that name.
Okay. Now that's an idea I hadn't thought of with the UCC. All right, good. Thank you, Islam.
Yeah, you can do that without using the Universal Commercial Code 11. You can just send a command memo with your fiduciary document accompanying it, stating the time span that the account would have been activated or enacted, rather, and mail it to the system. And who's the subject? The one that was pretending to be the CEO would be the subject. So you got to get the mailing system right, because see, it's the government that's requesting the information. No one can do away with the government request. They must comply. It's a system. The
There's
system
another.
complies.
Yeah. There's another agency, a corporate agency. They're within the creditor, all the different creditor agencies. I can't recall what it is. It's like they're hidden, but they're not known. They're in the public. A lot of people never heard of them, and I just lost the thought of it.
Islam.
They also have they also quote unquote discharge this. That there's a record of a discharge. Islam. Empress
True.
Aisha.
There's an agency out there known as LexisNexis.
Mm-hmm.
They do a very detailed, in-depth credit
LexisNexis. Thank you, sister.
LexisNexis, yes.
They do a detailed what, Empress?
They do a detailed credit report.
Islam, and it's probably from day one, probably.
Well, interestingly about LexisNexis, what's interesting about them, I have, as part of the discovery, where the FBI pulled a LexisNexis report, and it gave me all sorts of information, like she just said, going back to the 90s, every house that I owned. It didn't show bank accounts and credit card numbers, but it mentioned several emails. It mentioned every car that was registered in the name and the title number to every vehicle that I've ever had titled in my name. Okay? And it was a 100-page report, but that was to police policy enforcement personnel. So your suggestion then, which is wonderful, I can do that as a court order to LexisNexis, to the government, and they still got to release it to me. Because when I tried to request it individually, not by court order, it came back with some bogus nonsense. Okay, and they didn't fulfill. So now I can do it as a court order. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
remember,
Go ahead.
FBI and CIA and all of that, we are they.
Correct.
So when we send our request, it's not even a request, it's a command because it's being subpoenaed.
The correct acronym for FBI is Federal Banking Investigators. That would be us. That's who we are. We're the Federal Banking Investigators.
The actors were some of the first ones that we leaned and things of with Federal Bureau for Investigation is us. There and they were acting as Federal Bureau of Investigation. Whatever. So we send a Freedom for Information command by the court stating that this is the information, and you just send it, and they'll send you. And let me tell you something: the system will kick the information out, print it out, put it in an envelope, and send it back. A system will do that. Those things are automated. All of it's automated.
Freedom of information. Freedom of information. What?
Freedom of Information command
Okay.
or court order
Islam.
from the Article 3 court, our court, your court.
All right. Thank you.
Islam.
Islam, Empress Cynthia, and then Empress Shasha.
Oh.
Empress Angel. I'm sorry. Empress Cynthia first, please. And then Empress.
Empress Cynthia didn't say anything. Islam.
Oh.
I want to steal someone's turn. Thank you.
Okay. Empress Shasha and Empress Angel.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Happy to be here, but I actually didn't say anything.
You didn't.
No. Minerva.
Islam, I did.
Okay. It was several empresses who said something, but okay, Empress Angel and then the other
Minerva.
Empress Minerva. Yes, okay, that was who I was. Okay, thank you, Empress Angel. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, that's the information concerning the credit have to be all restated as well. And we had spoke about that several conferences ago about how they're just they just put under the system what we command them to put. So we have to restate all our credit anyway, our credit statements with perfect credit, as you Empress Light has already demonstrated, and then put it out for the notification, and the system will reflect it. And so, yes.
Well, and also in affirmation of what you're stating, Empress, the termination of all corporate contracts is where we listed every account, everything. And that was one of the first things we did was the termination of corporate contracts. Where we pulled up everything, no matter what the contract was, no matter how old it was, no matter what it was, and then we even put a statement at the end of those documents stating that any contract, any presumed contracts that were being enacted are included in this termination of all corporate contracts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Islam.
So with that,
Islam.
Empress Minerva.
Just real quick, with the LexisNexis, I was always told that was the fourth hidden
Yes.
credit bureau. That was what I understood. But my question was for Navy Fed, how do you find that third account number? I know about the two, the one
Go
that they
to your
identify
email.
you with.
Go to your email, and when you go to the email and there's a drop down box in the email about, because they say, well, what is this about? What is the subject matter of this email? When you hit that drop down box, it's going to show you everything. That's how we
mean all of the transmission and communication between yourself and Navy Federal.
No, it's going to show you all those account numbers.
Ah. Thank you. Thank you.
Because when I went to because that was when I was doing the research and then demonstrating uploading everything to the email. And when I went, I saw an account number, and I'm like, well, I don't know anything about this account. But the more research I did, I found out that that account was the actual original account that everything was being done by. And then they would post it to the other account. But anything that was coming and going, that original account is where all of the fiduciary activity was going on. Where if things came into the bank for us or for our person, in that account, in the last era, somebody would be looking at that saying, should her person get this or not? Someone was pretending to be the trustee and the fiduciary for that account. And then I wouldn't see it until they decided to post it into the account.
Islam, is that how they would so quote unquote approve or deny a loan in that enactment?
That or any deposits that came in, any charges that came in, they go into that account first because that's the foundational account. And then if the quote unquote IRS had a claim, they would get it from that account and then post the balance into the one you could see.
So that would be a derivative. These are derivative accounts.
The accounts that we've been looking at were derivative accounts until you address that basic one.
So how, if we don't have access to that number, we can just state the knowledge that we know that there is one?
What does your spirit say?
That part.
Whatever the spirit leads you to do, do it because it's going to work.
Wow.
That was the infrastructure, because remember, they enacted the Buck Act over everything, including our names. They did one that looked just like it, and then they pretended to be the fiduciary and trustee for the main one.
And they're still bucking us.
And
they still bucking us whenever they get ready to.
Well,
they bucking you.
Empress, you know what? They won't be able to do it if you stop claiming their person. Because people still claim their person and still think that they're doing something to them when they're not. They can't. They don't have fiduciary authority over your person, but you must express that. And every time you open your mouth, you must express that. Every time, no matter what's being stated.
Okay. Islam, could you open the call for Rosetta, please? Empress Rosetta.
Yeah, it's unlocked, Empress.
Thank you.
It's unlocked. It's on.
Oh, but also, so the whole application process would take place with the first account number, then also because they would either so-called enact denying you or enact granting you the loan process, and then in that first initial account, and then apothecate it and duplicate it, and then put what you can see in the second and third account if you had a checking and or savings.
Yeah. See, in the foundational account for the Treasury, there's at least 100 million in there. There's at least 100. They can, and the system can see that 100 million.
Oh, wait a minute. Also, and I also remember we had talked about the insurance part, the 250,000. That is where possibly the money would be held also in the underlying account as well.
The FDIC would have a separate account for that, and then they would just put it in that one. You're talking about the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation or company rather, where the account is insured up to 250,000. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, when we talked about that and how we could access that.
That's a separate account, even from the main account. That's a separate one. They were creating accounts every time we breathed.
Islam, indeed, on the FDIC, just to drop a little jewel of knowledge and understanding. Every time you opened an account, it was insured FDIC, but the insurance came from your estate because it was underwritten off of what? The Social Security number, which had all of your assets tied to it. That was always the trigger to unlock the Treasury door whenever you asked for a benefit by way of an application for anything. Okay, for anything. So that on the banking side, $250,000 per account, but in reality, it was literally per check.
I was about to say per transaction.
Per transaction. So think about this: there was never a such thing as an overdraft. It didn't exist because every time they went to the Treasury, it got paid. Whether you were short in your account or not is irrelevant. But they charged you. Listen to the word, compound word, overdraft. When you went over the amount that was in your account, they went over to the private side of the account and drafted money out to cover the transaction, and then charged you a fee for going over to the private side of your own account so that they could cover it, so they wouldn't be liable for it, and then charged you for it. And then had the nerve to reverse the transaction as if there was no money that was paid, which was a stone-faced lie. It was always paid. Always paid.
And if the fee, let's say the fee was $25, that was $50 that they put on that they created out of nothing and put it on their books.
It's just a application process.
That's it.
They kept applicating. Here we are today.
Well, and that's why our banking is that's for us to do. That's not for anybody else to be running around in a system, and then the system will say overdraft, and then they sitting on top of the system going, well, that's another. Let's charge them twice for that. Let's charge them coming and going, and then we'll take the charges, and the system says ain't nothing due. But the interlopers are saying, let's charge them twice for that because their child needs to go to college. Their kid.
Islam, wow, Islam Noble Phoenix. What you just explained is the words to why that system will be no more and is no more. And then because how you expressed that about how they were, manipulating the system and fraudulently scheming the system and all of that enactment, that is over with. It's done. It can't happen no more, just for the mere fact of how they would create nothing out of nothing. Well, they can't. They're not God. And then talk about you owe something. Meanwhile, you don't know you're the creditor. You didn't know you were the fiduciary. You didn't know everything came by your autograph. You didn't know all of this was because of you to begin with.
Yes. Now you know why decentralized banking is like to a vampire the garlic and everything else in the old era. It's like it scares them to death, because when we start transaction amongst each other directly, it cuts out the middlemen and all of their, what's the word you call it? Hypothecating that they were doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All of that's knocked out, and they don't get to make all these fees. That's why they're closing all these banks, because they see the handwriting on the wall.
And I really always hated the middleman. I really did. And I didn't know the depth of what it looked and enacted and all that. But nothing sat well with my spirit about a middleman. I just never liked the middleman. And now understanding the depths of that whole thing concerning banking, my word.
If I may say, Islam, Basel, everybody's hearing more about that word Basel in regards to banking. They must have gold and or silver on deposit to continue to function. on our land. For those who don't know, it's called Basel. Some months back, 6, 7, 8, maybe a year or so, they were
Empress
talking
Light, you're
about
muted.
this.
Empress Light, you're muted. We
Yes, she
can't
is
hear you,
muted.
Empress Light.
We can see the lips going, but no sound coming out. Yeah, she must have
Okay.
heard that.
Yeah,
There she is.
I heard you. I didn't want to interrupt anybody because while y'all are talking, all these things are coming and I'm trying to stay
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
So to let you.
I was just mentioning Basel. I'm mentioning Basel so we can continue to go back to our banking in our time right now, Islam. I see the Veterans Ministry there.
Yeah.
Please, January 2024.
Basel three is what they're at now. Basel 2 was 1971, and the first Basel was 1948. I believe 1945 or 1948, somewhere around there. But all that
Is that an acronym?
it is an acronym. They call it Basel 3. Some pronounce it Basel, others pronounce it Basel 3. But you can look it up. It's Bretton Woods Agreement. It's in alignment with the Bretton Woods Agreement. And all it does is state that all the money is to be backed by gold and held in a trust by us over here. That we're supposed to back the whole world's gold, all the currencies, all the national currencies are to be backed by gold, and that gold is held here.
So then BRICS would be an offshoot of Basel?
BRICS works from Basel, works from that. Except, yeah, it is an offshoot. It is an offshoot. They didn't agree with Basel. That's why they came up with the enactment of BRICS.
Oh, not too bad for them.
So, since we're talking about trust, in regards to the lien, the levy, now we're talking about our banking now, as Sister Light presented on the screen, 20 so the half an hour ago. And she gave us a list of everything that should be uploaded, downloaded, and sent to said bank. Lien, the levy, the bond, fiduciary, et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to do deposit slips, that's kind of where I'm speaking from now. Also, should we not send a trust?
The first 6 documents there's a trust in the first 6 documents. We sent the first 6 documents. We also sent the 40 documents also, if I remember correctly. All the ones in red and all lowercase letters. But again, it may not be necessary for what you're doing. We uploaded everything we could think of because we know who we are, and what else did we have to do? We had time to do it, so we did it.
Since we've leaned and levied these said banks, all of us, who have done this, should we now change the color to blue since we're doing commerce? Yes or no?
The system will do that. I didn't change it to blue. The system did. It changed it from black to blue.
Okay, Islam, thank you.
Yeah, Islam. I will to show you now the latest thing that we've added to this bank account. We talked about our $100 million that our courts awarded us for the Federal Way incident, and we'll call it that, but that's a POW incident, whatever we chose to call. Let's call it what it should be. The Federal Way case or cause, where we were unlawfully detained for 10 days, and we just did court actions the whole 10 days, and the one in 2017 as well. But this one was 2020. This was 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. So what we have done, let's see, this account 7295. We have, I believe this is the one. Yeah, this is the one where we put our salary. This is the one where we put our salary. And then there's another one for the other account. Let's go back to the other account where we uploaded, I believe it's this one, where we scheduled and uploaded, just one moment, where we scheduled and uploaded the 100 million. But the way that we did it is that we did it as a lawsuit ruling, and it was 100,000 each month. That's how we were led to do it, 100,000 each month for this account, scheduled transactions. So 100,000 will come in each month from this particular lawsuit. The most that you can put in is, and this is why we were stating what we were stating about the previous system. The previous system is it had some quote unquote governors on it, where it would not allow you to put in $100 million if you won $100 million from a lawsuit. It wouldn't allow you to. It would only allow you to put in a certain amount each month. So we put in 100,000 each month, or 99,000 each month. So we added that to scheduled transactions. It's only showing 4 transactions here. It's also, but we put it in so that this continues for a year, and then we'll update it until we get up to 100 million, which is, we could have put it for 5 years, we could have put it for 10 years, but for the sake of this demonstration, we just wanted to show you what we're putting in, because again, the documents are on the public record. That's another something that we willed to show you about how we're justifying all of this. A court has ruled that the money is owed. Okay? This court ruled, and this is really the only court that matters, okay, that 100 million was owed for that incident. So, Islam.
So is the amount limitation that you can input, is it due to the insurance, the FDIC insurance coverage?
It's due to the fact that the system still has some limitation on it from the last era. That's all it is. Is the system, and those limitations will be removed shortly. The system, in other words, remember in the last era whenever a transaction got over a certain amount, a whole bunch of bells and whistles would go off, and it would have to be elevated to the CEO or somebody else's desk, and things would be put on hold until they could verify, and all of that stuff. Okay, that doesn't have to happen now because we're verifying, so it didn't set off bells and whistles. However, the system is pulling back all of those quote unquote protections off the system so that we can enter the tremendous number of zeros that our treasuries require.
Islam
nobility.
Greetings to you, Empress Light, and the rest of the Congress. This is King L.
Great rising, nobility.
Greetings, beloved. I have a question that I have been kicking around as I study this process that you have so eloquently laid before us. Cash App and the other financial technological tools that the US dollar and Bitcoin has normalized, how can we utilize that? Can we utilize that, or is that for us to utilize?
Everything is for us to utilize. Everything is ours. The way to do it is to mail your court actions and your authority to both places. They said something about a Sutton Bank, and they said something about Cash App. They both have a quote-unquote headquarters or a corporate office or whatever the case may be. You want to issue your rulings to both those places, lien, levy, bond, um, and then look at the way that things are done in terms of deposits and withdrawals, and send in the proper process and the amounts. And then you're
So
going to have to create your own Cash App card, because their card is not, it can't handle our stuff. That's the difference between a quantum banking system and a common banking system.
So I'm so glad you said that. Once again, you are always on point and thorough. So the company that actually holds the majority stock in Sudden Bank, which is functioning as Cash App, is called BlackRock or something like that. It's a hedge fund or a holdings company that holds stock in all of the major corporations in the United States corporation system. So when we send in the information to that particular entity, it will cover a lot of other entities that are up under that as a majority shareholder.
Yeah, indeed.
It's not.
And it's called BlackRock.
Yeah.
Those who named it, we're a little bit familiar with that enactment. Those who named it know that upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell or the government of hell cannot prevail against it. It's BlackRock, and all of its things are for blacks, black entities, black operations. In CIA language, they call it black ops. That's really what that is improper claiming of things. And so, yes, a lien, a levy, and a bond is in order for that.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Question. When a home is first purchased and you have title insurance on it, if you should not pay that note or the note is defaulted, should the title insurance pay that property off?
They really should. If title insurance is proper title insurance, they will pay it off, because it is insurance is to pay for anything, any type of loss, depending on why the note was not paid. So, for example, if the note was not paid because someone had a medical issue or they lost their job or something of that nature, then insurance really is supposed to kick in and pay for as long as the note can't be paid. It should be paying it monthly until the note.
Well, should the note be paid if you know that they are committing fraud and the note was supposed to be paid off when you first purchased the property and they didn't do it?
Okay.
Through the indentured trustee, or it's either the indentured trustee and the deed of trust. The home was supposed to have been paid off, but they hide that from you.
Well, Empress, just a moment, please. Empress, you must stop claiming that the note is due, because every time they say it's due, there's you say something back about it. You must understand and know that the note was fraud ab initio based on identity.
Okay.
Based on identity. See, all of that other stuff about it being indentured and this and that, all of that is subject matter that yes, we look at subject matter when we're issuing our rulings. However, yours and in any mortgages and any of that stuff starts first with proper identification of the parties. That's where the fraud happens.
Okay.
You must stay there. Stay on that. Don't let them take you into all that other stuff.
Okay.
Who are they and who are you?
Okay.
Don't let them take you all off into that other stuff. Proper identification of the parties, because everything starts and stops there. Then you can go into a mortgage note that's paid with legal and lawful money instead of fake money.
Okay. And I did that, and they sent it back to me. I guess I should have just kept sending it back, huh?
You should, of course.
Okay.
Of course. Keep. It's called living record technique. You must continue to repeat what you're stating,
Okay.
because all they're doing is finding a whole bunch of different ways to say the same thing. They're still trying to identify you as being under their, and the property as being under their jurisdiction when you're not, and the property is
Okay.
not. So it's
Okay.
again, go right on back to identity.
Okay.
You have to start there.
Got it.
Islam.
Islam.
So, to my dear Empress, in response to your question, Light answered it very eloquently and very accurately. But let me just add this point to it. The title insurance company expecting them to pay the claim, to pay something, without a claim being made, it's not going to happen. Yeah, they may have the responsibility to, but you got to prove up the claim in the old era. But the beauty is, with the tools that we have in our hands, you have more than enough to state a claim upon which relief could be granted, and you're going to do the granting of the relief. So you don't really need to put in a claim with the title company for anything, because that title was a fake title anyway.
Okay.
All right? So remember, what title are you going to have on your property? Did you ever accept the original deed in the first place? And if you didn't, now is a great time to go ahead and accept that title, do the allottal and do all the other proper stuff so that the property, the land, I'm sorry, the house that's on the land is where? Not in Admiralty, but rather on the land, moored to the land, and it has an allottal title. Because they're foreclosing or claiming an interest in something that's out in Admiralty. We're not dealing with that anymore. We're back on the land. We're moored to the land. We're not going out there and playing with them no more.
Exactly.
That's the old era. So we can throw all of that out and just work on the new system that has been introduced to us through Sister Light, through the ancestors, etc., and that's been rolled out in front of us, and it's given us all the tools we need. We just got to stop being hurt over what's been done in the past. We have to let that go and literally focus on what can I do right now to resolve this issue with the tools that I have available to me right now. The Article 3 court, all of the documentation, the fiduciary. We got all the power and authority in your fingertips, but you must learn to wield the tools at your disposal, for lack of a better way of expressing that. Islam.
Okay.
Empress Light, you're muted again. You're muted again.
Yeah, we see those lips moving again. They were going, yep, 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 yep.
I'm trying to just be quiet and stop interrupting people because, you know, because it's proper to do.
Yeah, we get excited. We get excited.
Who was that? Who's talking?
It's me, Empress Light. It's me, Empress Light.
The gentleman that was talking, I would like to get his email.
Oh, okay.
That's Noble Phoenix. Noble Phoenix.
Okay, thank you.
Empress, may I ask you what it is that you say that they sent back to you? Because you said they sent something back to you, which they didn't send to you. They sent it to that person.
Go back to Larium.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Larium. I sent them $50,000 to cover the second mortgage, which is what they're trying to terminate my ownership of the property on the second mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
It's 35 something, but I sent them 50,000 and they sent it back, and I never sent it back to them. But I was planning on doing that, just sending it back and giving them some more information with prejudice, so they don't think they can keep bucking me about it.
So your court must issue a ruling, another ruling, to rebut what they're stating, because there are some answers in what they're stating. Whatever it is that they sent back, there are some answers there.
Okay.
But without hearing the actual language, I don't know what those answers are, but I can say this: look at what they sent, and if they're saying something about the payment method. See, here's the thing. The payment method that you sent, Empress, is a viable payment method if there's a debt that's due.
Right.
However, if there's no debt due, then your court can rule that way, that there's no debt due. See, by them sending it back, they're automatically saying that a debt is not due because that's
Okay.
real money. They're
Okay.
saying that the debt is not due. It's not a viable debt. But to get rid of what's on their paper, then you must show that whatever it is that they're saying is due on their paper is not valid. Because, see, they've already admitted that it's not a real debt.
Right.
If
And
it was a real debt, they
even
would have accepted it.
and even in the court ruling, they are not asking for money, and they were treating me as a tenant rather than a foreclosure. They were trying to foreclose, but at the same time, they got a default against me as a renter renting the property.
Okay. So now,
And they didn't file their process in the proper court venue, because the court venue that they filed it in, the 67th district, only went up to $25,000, and the second mortgage was over $30,000.
Empress, they're telling you that you're the court, that you're the right court. They're telling you that you are the right court. Because, see, remember, if they had something, they'd have been there by February 1st. Remember? If they had something, they don't have anything. However, you must state and know in your spirit that you're the court and not them.
Okay.
You're the court and not them. You must make that clear to them that you know you're the court and not them. And that your court has ruled that not only is the proper the identification of the parties. See, they're improperly, and you said it yourself, you're telling us the answer to the issue.
Okay.
What you stated is that they have misidentified you as a tenant on your own land.
Okay.
We don't even have to see anymore or know anymore. Again, you must use your court to properly identify you and them and stop there. You don't have to go into all that other stuff. Proper, and we stated this to you before you said what you said. We stated proper identification of the parties. All court actions start and stop there.
Right.
They start and stop there.
Right.
And you might feel that you've done that already. However, whenever you get into even one issue of subject matter, you've capitulated.
Okay.
When you start talking subject matter with them, you're saying that their claim is valid, and it's not.
Okay.
So you cannot get into subject matter with them at all because you're not a subject.
So then, should I have to do the actual court action, lien, levy, bond against them?
Yes.
Okay.
And what does see, Empress? You've asked that question 2 or 3 times. That means your spirit is telling you. Your spirit is telling you to do it, but you just haven't done it yet.
I guess I kind of need a little bit of push, a little bit of assistance to make sure that I got it correct.
Empress, you cannot worry about having everything perfect. You must demonstrate what you do know. You know about the lien, levy, and bond process. Demonstrate what you know, not what Noble Phoenix knows, not what Light knows, but what you know about what's been put on the public record about the process.
Okay.
Now, that video, the video that we did, and I'll just put the link to it because let's see, the link to the video, the post office video that we just showed, where we did the lien, the levy, and the bond process. We showed the actual lien process, the paperwork for it. We showed the levy process, the paperwork for that, and we showed the bond process, the paperwork for that. I'm going to put the link to that in the chat right now. Okay. The link to that video is in the chat right now. I just put it there. Okay.
Okay.
you've stated that the last 3 or 4 Congresses that we've had where we've discussed this, your demonstration that you're doing, you brought up the lien, levy, and bond. Your spirit is telling you to do it. So I'll say this: whenever my spirit is saying do something, I didn't have a manual except my spirit and my study.
Okay.
My spirit and my study to do the things that we're doing, the demonstrations that we're demonstrating. And once we, again, this is how we come up with the things. First, we listen to the spirit. Then we look at the process that was done in the last era in enactment. And then we say, okay, how do we make this process the law? We make it the law in the way that we show you in this video that we're putting the link to in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. So the ancestors are saying, and this is the video we're talking about right here. Is that Light Tajiri Bay? It's called Post Office, Lien, Levy, Bond, United States Marshal Writ for Port Entry, Quash Mandamus, and the new stamps. The lien, levy, and bond process is right there, word for word.
Okay.
Word for word. We show the documents word for word.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's how you know that the ancestors are pointing the way for you through your own spirit, because you've stated it several times. And now they're saying, we know that that's not the right court, and now we know you know it's not the right court.
Okay.
So now you're held responsible for that information, Empress, and to put it in the right court.
Okay.
Because when you put it in the right court, they can't move. But you must do it. It must be done. It must be demonstrated.
Okay.
It must be demonstrated. See, and this is for all the Moors, everyone. When the ancestors show us things like that, they will tell us in no uncertain terms to go ahead and demonstrate that. Us talking about it on any public forum, even if you pick up the phone and call somebody and talk about it, the matrix can hear. The system can hear.
Okay.
And the system responds to your words. So now the system knows that you know that those courts are not the right courts. And that's why they didn't come on February 1st. Your February 1st ain't even the same as theirs. You have a restated February 1st.
That is true.
So now that you know that, and you stated it on the public record, now the ancestors are saying, okay, we know she knows that the court is not the right court. We know she knows how to do a court action. Now she's going to have to do that so that the ancestors are free to move on your behalf.
Okay.
They will move in your favor when you state and say, okay, I'm willing to do this work right here, whatever it is. And don't worry about, you don't need, let me just tell you, Empress, you don't need anybody to help you with it. Mm-hmm. The process is right there, and then the ancestors they don't beg, but they're stating that you must connect with them for the answer. Not anyone outside of you, but with them, through you, in you. Because they're controlling the situation through you.
Gotcha.
They will that you connect with them and not anyone outside of you for that demonstration.
Okay.
Islam.
Thank you.
Islam nobility. Empress, we with you. We're already connected with you with the situation. We're in the spirit realm with boxing gloves on. Okay?
All right.
So we're good. We're good there. Just connect. Connect.
I concur. Islam.
Indeed, Islam.
I affirm Islam.
Indeed.
Islam. I affirm.
I triple affirm.
Indeed.
Islam, not firm.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Islam.
And everyone who affirms, same thing for you and for us too. Our ancestors want us
Islam.
connected in the spirit.
All right.
IFM.
Islam, Empress Light, if I can interrupt for one moment.
Islam nobility.
Okay, this King L again. You had asked a question before that I wasn't able to answer because of the flow of the conversation in the Congress. But in a previous Congress a few weeks back, maybe a week, 2 Congresses ago, you asked where was I at before participating with this process.
Mhm.
I am an associate of a law firm that is coming out of Chicago. And the law firm was responsible for royalty retrievals for the blues artists from Chicago who were not competent enough to handle their own estates.
Mm.
The partner was from Kiev, Ukraine. So he came into the country as a war, seeking asylum from the war back in those days in the first USSR era.
Mm-hmm.
So he was operating as a national. So he understood the Moors' position in society, and he was able to help me to unfold a lot of the measures that we are unfolding now, but under his vine and fig tree. So his passing away forced me to come into myself and to get to know myself as the prophet teaches us. And that's where I was at before this, was under his vine and fig tree, learning to operate as a national from the city of Chicago, which he was a very well respected pillar in that community from the music industry. J.B. Ross and Associates is the name of the law firm.
Mm-hmm. Islam, thank you for that nobility.
No problem.
He knew in his heart that you were the real national and not him. He knew that.
He did.
But they did have a job to do when they came here.
He before he passed away, he gave some specific instructions to me, and one of those instructions is that his family, which was the association, were bigots, and they did not want to see me on the level playing field with them. So he prepared me to be able to function under my own vine and fig tree because he was aware of the bigotry that we were operating under.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he knew also that ultimately your status is far above anything that his quote unquote family could ever proclaim. They know who they are now. They came here through Ellis Island. I don't have to know them to know that.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Because I know what our ancestors said and did. I know why they said and did the things they said and did. See, all of them that came here, and they all came here through Ellis Island, were here to do exactly what he did with you, which is show you how to proclaim and possess and use and enjoy your estate by way of the system.
His office actually was a participant in a exchange from Uganda with importing gold. So his position was very, very empowering for the Moors, and he did a lot of work to make sure that we were able to function in the capacity that we do function in now today.
That's interesting. I was watching a video by Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan was saying the same thing, that his people came here through Ellis Island. It made it clear to me that they were here to work, occupy, work, and to show us what we needed to know. The things that you've seen in your work there with him are going to come in very, very useful and handy in a restated fashion. You can't do it exactly the way he did it. You have to restate it. And that is how those things are brought in. gold being brought in from wherever, Uganda or wherever. All of that stuff belongs to us. They know that, and so each and every one of us have to remember how to do whatever we learned in that previous era, so that we can demonstrate what we're doing now. So were there, when you say bringing in gold, were you working with things like bills of lading, or was it U.S. Customs or import export, or what was it that you were working with
So
in terms of pay?
at the time, we were involved in agricultural development, investments in Uganda. So the justification for the shipment to come through customs and be delivered to the office was a dirt sample. And the dirt samples just so happened to have been gold nuggets. So that was a part of the sample. And when it was delivered here into the United States, it was not taxable or anything, because it was a part of the dirt that was shipped in, and the Privacy Act did not allow them to go into the package once it was classified as dirt samples. Whatever comes in the dirt is a part of the sample.
That's interesting, because see, when you call it a sample, and this is something I remember from import export from my time doing those things and clearing things through customs, custom house brokerage. If you call anything a sample, that just by calling it a sample puts a whole different. It can come through a lot easier than calling it what it really is, which was soil or land or dirt. Anything that's called samples falls under research and development. And anything that has to do with research and development in commerce is, just one moment, let me shut that off, is, just a moment. Anything done where research and development is concerned in any field is given a pass, because whatever it is a resource that's going to create so much more commerce. So anything in research and development is always going to be easier to deal with. When you call it a sample, when you call it anything other than what it is.
What you already understand and is teaching us, in Africa, they still function from the perspective of the conquerors, the Moors who reigned over those territories and countries. So before the colonization kicked in, they had their rituals, customs, and ways of dealing with each other that they still stick to. All of those countries haven't colonized like the United States. They still have their own government for real.
They do, and they also know that when we come from this particular landmass, that we have authority to do things over on their land that they can't do on other people at other territories. But see, that's written into the laws of antiquity and things that have to do with antiquity and property and soil and the land and true ownership and things of that nature. And here's the thing, all the Moors that go to those places or that are at those places are the true lawful highest government there and can do whatever. That's what a consul is one who goes to other places and does commerce on those other lands, and we make the laws on the other lands by way of the commerce.
You are so correct, because the tribes over there recognize the Moors as the founders of the tribal divisions. Yeah. So they do subordinate to us. The chiefs of those tribes do recognize us as governors.
Yes. Yes. Because they come from us. They come from us, and if you go far back in their history is going to come here first. It's going to be here first, and then over there. Everybody comes from here first. Everyone was here first. That's why they keep you out of certain parts of the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone Park and the gorges and the canyons and the parks. They keep you out of certain parts of those because then you'll see where everybody came from here. You'll see the stuff that says everybody over there and over there and over there and over there came from here first. And the people that are there, again, they know all of that stuff.
Can I share one more thing with you, Empress Light, please?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much and dominate the Congress, but I want to because you keep touching on relevant topics.
Mhm.
I was privileged to go onto a portion of Northern California called Blood Island.
Mhm.
If we have any historians in the Congress today, they would know that Blood Island was where the United States military and the Native Americans had one of the bloodiest wars in the history of the American colonization era. And on that island, you can still see the place where they sharpened the arrows to make their weapons and different things like that. They have preserved the original scenery to its original state. So when you say that they keep us out of places like the Grand Canyon and things of that nature, that is very true because when I collected some artifacts in the period of time that I was there, and the people that went with me were not Native Americans, they were Europeans. So they were not legally able to take anything from the land because they were not native to the land. But they thought that when I collected the articles, I was going to be arrested and stopped at the airport for smuggling artifacts, but I had the rights, so they didn't bother me. And they were so upset about that after the fact because they thought it was a setup for me to be interrupted in the business that we were attending to. But it actually turned out to be beneficial because they never questioned me or bothered me about the items.
The only time they question or bother us is if we're wearing a military uniform. Then you can't take anything from anywhere else or anything like that. But when we're ourselves, and no one kept us from those places, we just didn't know how to use the system to go to those places. So it's a system. You must be a treaty nation to even go to those parts of the Grand Canyon and other places on the land. And now that we know those things, we can go to those places unencumbered because there are resources there that cause us to live for 1,000 years or more.
Yes, just the energy, Empress Light. It's Clear Lake, California is where the Blood Island is located. And just to go there and feel the energy of the indigenous aboriginals is empowering to touch the water and just to be a part of the sunset and the sunrises in the footsteps of the ancestors is very invigorating.
Nowadays, Nobility, thank you for that. Nowadays, uh, you can feel that same thing right where you are when you tap in to the energy within you. We are actually the vortexes for that energy. And that energy, no one will feel it unless we release that energy. So when we go to those different places, that's kind of like a Kickstarter for us to feel that energy. But we can feel that right where we are. Right where we are. Just think a certain way and you will feel those energies. Clear your energy and think a certain way. So There's a question in the chat that says, or some inbox that says, will we ever link our Moorish sovereign Dalarian with the other BRICS nations? There are no other BRICS nations until we say there are. So the answer to that is yes, except it must be the true ones. Those are actors that everyone is looking at, calling them BRICS nations. Those are actors, and what they're doing is acting by proxy what we're doing already.
Islam. I had to bring that up because someone presented that to me to bring up to the Congress, and I said, you know what, I'm going to mention that.
Yes.
But I did tell him, I said, but you got to remember, and I was sharing this with Brother Howard also today, that those are still corporate entities. You know, they're not real indigenous, and they're not us. So, you know, they're still corporations trying to pretend like they're, you know, government, and that they are the true heirs to the land. And they're not the indigenous people, even in those countries where we're not the indigenous. They're not. They're still corporate entities trying to come together and to do things corporately just to get away from the U.S. corporation that's dissolved. Okay? So that's the reason why I was hesitant to even bring it up. But I think I wanted to do so officially so that I can say it's been addressed, we know about it, and if at some point in the future we want to do so, when they have been properly restated or recognized because it's us over there doing something, okay, then we can do that. So I kind of understood that already. I just wanted to bring it up.
Someone is still looking in the funny mirror.
Yeah, Empress Light, can I ask a question about that? The BRICS, the way I understand how the DeLoreans works, we could buy the BRICS and turn their monetization systems into the DeLoreans. Is that correct?
We don't have to buy them. We already own those. They're actors. What we're doing is restating everything. So I think that's probably what you're referring to in terms of what they're doing. They don't make a move with their acting until they see us make a move with our Delarium. And then they just act out for everybody else on the world stage, quote unquote. That's why it's called the world stage. They just act out what we're already doing. Sometimes they call it proxy wars or doing things by proxy. That's all they're doing. It's showing everybody where we are in the processes.
Sister Light, I gotta just say, ouch. Ow.
There are people over at Africa, the real one over there, the real and this is the real Africa too, by the way, but over at Northeast Africa that have Delarium already, and they're already doing things with Delarium, and because they have the commerce already going. They already have their fruit stands and their mega corporations or companies and things of that nature. They're using Delarium already. Some of them. They're using Delarium in China and Thailand and Indonesia.
Japan too. Nippon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I know for a fact.
America as well. France, everywhere. They're using Delarium. They're just saying, okay, let's just keep our eye on what they're doing and keep moving. That is BRICS. That's BRICS. We are BRICS, but we're the real BRICS, not the fake ones.
You know, Sister Light, I'm so excited.
Islam.
And I show up my excitement for work.
Islam?
3:30 a.m. February 3rd, I had the ancestors were talking to me. They said, you're going to craft up a newspaper. I said, well, what should I call it? And they told me. I mean, I draw too, so it's going to be pretty easy. So in light of what you were sharing an hour or so ago about the division and giving us, what is that, February 9th, the moon?
Yes, the new moon.
Yeah, so I'm in harmony with the 3. I never thought about that until you brought that up. Islam, and thank you.
Islam. It is an honor. It is an honor. Empress Cynthia.
Islam.
Islam.
I'm struggling with, um, in my research, everywhere I look, the United States, as Noble Phoenix says, is dissolved, and it's on the public record. And as I hear the struggle, with Empress Aisha, um, it seems as though they're going to keep enacting that they are relevant until we do this process. Then, because you always say that nature deplores a void, which is true. And so if we don't fill that void, then they seem like they're obligated to continue their program until it is corrected by the actual uh, 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 owners of this land. So I'm a little confused, and why are we still wrestling with this octopus it's just a ghost? So that's what it seems like to me, because they have no contracts here, they don't have any charters, and yet, they're still, walking around with these titles. Something just, it just doesn't match. Islam.
Islam, thank you for that, Empress. I'm glad you brought that up. First and foremost, they're only acting as long as people are looking in the funny mirror at them. That's the only acting they're doing. There are some people out there who are so fast asleep that they don't even realize that you can tell them they're bankrupt and that they don't have any authority. They'll never believe that because they're literally, quote unquote, living in the funny mirror. The less you look in the funny mirror, the more you will be empowered and know that they're done. But if you keep looking in the funny mirror, that means watching their media, watching them talk about finance when we know that's not finance. That's first and foremost. Is we each and all must wean ourselves off of the funny mirror because they're trying to get out of here, but people keep looking at them and speaking to them. People you've never even met. How many people at this Congress have met the actor that was previously acting as Joe Biden? How many people? I'll wait. They're actors.
Islam.
Islam.
Okay, so I haven't met anyone, but there was a report that came out that Eric Garland, I guess they arrested him, I think Friday, this past Friday.
Interesting.
The 31st. And they were saying that even though he was hiding out, I'm going to call it hiding out, in Poland for a good duration of time, because, I think they put out like an arrest for him. But
I'll put the volume up a little bit.
Okay, so there were, the report is that there were like 5 different, they call them clones of Eric Garden that was, all about the country, sometimes in 2 different locations on opposite side of the coast at various functions or whatever. But he himself, because they were saying that they were either wearing masks or they were looked, had like a look-alike, but they always had like an earpiece in their ears, I guess, to be told what to say at the various locations that they were acting at. But that when he came in, because he had to meet with somebody, he wanted to meet with somebody that was like his counterpart from Canada here, the 31st of January, right? So he came back from Poland. They were tracking him, and he came back from Poland and to have that meetup. And at that point, they went ahead and nabbed him, but they said that they had to do some identifying to be sure it was him and not one of the clones. And so they were saying that clones, I can remember two of the things that they said that you can identify them with. Oh, I think I remember three now. So they said that they're flat feet, they don't have molars, and they don't really have genitals. So that's how they know. And then, and then I guess, some blood tests or whatever. Yeah. So.
When people stop looking in the mirror, those poor deers can go on back where they came from. When people stop looking in the funny mirror at those news stories and stuff, and Empress, I hear what you're saying. That is prime example of what I'm speaking about. Those types of stories is what is where my energy is pointing to. Those types of stories and just that type of debauchery. What good is knowing all of that for the public? How is that going to help the public? They're trying to tell everyone in no uncertain terms that they're not who they say they are, because if that was really an attorney general, there would be no arrest. But see, people don't realize that when you're the government, you have immunity. If you're not the government, you don't have immunity. And anybody can throw that rear end in jail. So I just, when I hear things like that, and even Empress Cynthia, with what you were stating, you can tell, we can all tell by what comes out of our mouths where we spend a good deal of our time. When I first, because I go back and listen to these congresses just like everyone else does, I go back and listen to them to hear what's coming out of my mouth so that I will know how to tailor my study and spend less time in the funny mirror so that I will know what's real. Because that funny mirror is so funny that now they're telling people that people are cloned, and people are still like thinking that that's still an AG, an attorney general, but they're telling you they're clones. And nobody thinks it's weird that they're running around talking about they've been cloned. No one thinks that's weird. No one thinks it's weird that the one, quote unquote, Joe Biden, one minute he got green eyes, the next minute he got blue eyes, the next minute he got brown eyes. One minute he looked 3 seconds younger, and the next minute he looked 1,000 years old. No one thinks that any of that is weird, and they're still saying that that's a president.
It's mind blowing. I already know. I hear the same thing here in Tampa, Florida.
The they gotta come out the funny mirror. Stop looking at that thing. It ain't real. And now people are saying it's not real. They're saying that's a clone.
Yeah, they telling you. These people are clones. We're telling these people these are clones.
So how
they just look at us like we're crazy. Yeah.
How is the people down the street supposedly pretending to be policy enforcers, pretending to be or acting as mayors and all of that stuff, and they couldn't pick up a rock if you tried to tell them to pick up a rock to help the homeless people?
True that. They're telling people here they have no resources, including the so-called churches, because I chat with them.
They don't?
And they just come up with excuses. And people just don't get it. I said they're in debt. They don't have any resources. They never did. And people just don't, they can't come to that reality. They can't. Their brain is still in that dimension. So they suffer continuously because they still want to believe that these people are the government and they're going to help us get out of our homeless staging situation.
That's why we have to keep doing what we're doing, because they're actually telling the truth, like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. They're telling the truth. They never had any money.
Islam. Yeah.
Believe them when they say that. Believe them when they say that. They're actors. And people are still thinking that they have the authority to take somebody's domicile. We'll just keep working and we'll keep repeating the things we say. I used to feel a little bit sorry for our Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey because he's been having to repeat things for 20 and 30 years. I get it.
Yep. Repetition.
I'm glad he was repeating things because he was repeating it right, and his spell broke the spell over, that was over me in the enactment.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that he stayed with it, that he kept repeating.
They even think the Internal Revenue Service is operating. Where I'm at in this territory, I'm like, they don't operate no more. They're shut down. Only AI is operating.
No, don't say that.
Well, I have to say something to help them because they go berserk. I mean,
you have to say that that the people. Just say the people. Just say the people and refer them to the Constitution that says we the people in order to form a more perfect union. Just say that. Don't say it's AI because it's not AI. It's you.
Yes. What is that? What's the Constitution? What is that? What is that?
They better get a book.
Good luck with that.
Or listen to you.
Yeah. The level of ignorance and misinformation is like, it will blow your mind. Like, huh? I said, you guys have the internet. Pull it up. It's right on the everything I'm sharing with you is on the internet. It's not even hidden. So anyway, well, I saw your face. I had to chime in, Sister Light. I saw your face. That's my face. Like, you people don't know this.
It's our ministry. We're going to go ahead with our ministry and keep moving forward because the poor actors, I'm starting to feel sorry for them that they're having to act that stuff out because the Moors are not believing the words that they put on paper. The Moors should believe the words that the Moors put on the paper. The affidavits that you craft, believe them. They're real. The actors are telling you they're not real. And they have no money, they have no resources, they have nothing.
There's a scripture that says when truth comes, it's going to appear like a lie. Because people live in a lie so long, they're like, well, what's true? What's true? That's the struggle people are having. The reset of the mind. Okay.
And all we can say is come out the funny mirror. Just come out the funny mirror. Just stop listening to the stuff that you hear Babylon babbling on YouTube. Because that's Babylon babbling that stuff back to you about a Federal Reserve interest rate. Interest rate where? What? On what? Nothing. And out of all that stuff they've been talking, you all, Moors, has any one of you missed a meal and felt and had starvation going on? Not one of you. I know that. I know you haven't missed a meal. It might not have been steak and lobster. And that's only by your choosing because you got work to do. You got demonstrations, laws to write and demonstrate. That thing is done. Okay, that last era is so over. It's so the Moors just have to get over it. Get over the last era. Ain't nothing to it. So we'll just keep going.
Islam?
Islam Empress.
I just want to make a statement. As I look around, it seems though that people are still looking for a hero. Hollywood did a very good job with that, and the truth is, if we're not looking within to ourselves, we are our heroes. There's nothing else, and that's just nature. That's the bare bone truth. So I know for me, in order to remedy all of the causes that I have made, it's up to me
Yes,
to
it is.
learn everything, learn here. This is hard work, but I appreciate this hard work because I know once I've taken in all this information and I understand the system, nobody can take that from me. Nobody could ever fool me again. I don't have to pay somebody for some program to put my estate back together or have it returned to me. I'm rich
Yes.
from just the knowledge
Yes.
of knowing how this system works, and it's mine.
Yes.
Everything I ever wanted in life, and for me and my whole family. So the hero is us.
Yes.
Stop. I hope we will all stop looking outside ourselves. Yes, we can get together with all of our geniuses, because we all are geniuses when we look at life that way, and use our own genius, and we all come to table like we do here in Congress.
Yeah.
Magical things happen here.
Yeah.
I look forward to being here. Every meeting, I don't like missing.
Yeah.
A lot of bright minds here, bright souls, and man, and the determination.
Yeah.
This is the place to be on earth. Anyway, we're the hero.
Yeah.
Islam, thank you.
Islam, I affirm.
I affirm as well, Empress. Indeed. This is what the Biblios calls the council of the gods. Look it up in that Biblios. You better look at yourselves in the Biblios. The council of the gods.
Islam, if I may, because in the from people who say we have to go to the International Court of Justice to do any type of thing and such and such and such and such, I asked the question to myself. I said, you know what? When the what is it? The Morocco and Great Britain, the treaty, that's it, that's the word. When the treaty was written, question, was the International Court of Justice there when it was written? Did it even exist? Anybody have that answer?
I can tell you about the treaty that we wrote.
I know, but in that, and then when people refer to the treaties of that time, that system didn't exist. The International Court of Justice wasn't there. It was Morocco and Great Britain. So what I'm getting at is to think that we have to go to the International Court of Justice for anything when it didn't exist in the beginning. What are we doing? Why would we think that we would have to go to a court that was enacted in a corporate fiction to get justice and remedy when it didn't exist, when Morocco, the empire, and Great Britain, the subjects, and made that document?
Well, the sooner Moors stop looking for somebody else to govern them and go ahead and start governing themselves, they'll be a lot happier when they do that.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
We are the International Court for Justice.
Exactly.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Right.
That's who we really are?
Right.
Oh.
You being facetious now? Noble Howard.
I am being facetious. I'm actually talking to the other 60-some people here.
Just go back to the beginning of this Congress and listen to the words that were stated.
I thought it said the Matrix was not real. And it said what? Your mind makes it real. I'm talking to everybody on this Congress. Your mind makes they stuff real. They're not real.
When it comes to, well, let me just clarify that. Let me split the hair on that, because you're right. They're not real, but we are.
That's right. That's right. We're the real deal.
On
We're the real
everything.
living beings on the planet.
Supreme Court, International Court for Justice, Bank for International Settlements,
Yes.
International Monetary Fund,
Yes.
Congress,
Yes.
who else? The police, the military, who else?
The Sharifs.
All of that.
All that.
All of that. We are the all. What do people think Allah means?
All in all.
Period.
We're the all in all. Wake up, everybody.
I will say that. I will say this about that in conclusion of that. Everybody else knows who we are. Everybody else knows. Everybody else knows. I have been, looking at other Moors and their demonstrations and things, and we honor all Moorish demonstrations. We honor all demonstrations, period, of truth and, light and things of that nature. We're getting there. That's what I'll say about that, is we're getting there. I will to put the link to that Joe Rogan video that I was listening to where they're talking about, they're just talking about, he mentions about how his grandparents came through Ellis Island and everybody came through Ellis Island. They came here to work. Now, Moors, this is something that I've been thinking about, and I know you all have been thinking about it as well. We could easily let AI do everything. And when we say AI, we mean aboriginal intelligence. In other words, intelligence that comes from the originals. Okay, so that's what AI means to us when we're talking about our AI, which is these systems, the banking system, the communication systems, and all of these other systems, the electrical grid, the ley lines, and all of that. That's all our stuff. We just have to determine what now to do with those who worked in those places. They can still stay and work in their proper status. See, some want everything and everybody gone, and it just be us on the land. And while that may be ideal for some, for others, we feel that people are good for us. People, many different types of people, are good for us, as long as everybody knows who's who and what's what. Well, how will they find that out? At what we're doing right now, continuing to demonstrate who we really are. Our courts tell the truth of our land. And the acting is not a thing. Just think about this. Every actor that you see on YouTube and all of that stuff, if you met them in person and said, how long have you been acting? Some of them will say, all my life. Some of them will say that. They are third and fourth and fifth generation actors.
Yes. Say that again.
They are third, fourth, and fifth generation actors. The ones that came through Ellis Island, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth generation actors. That's why everybody's yelling about a reset. Because when you reset, you rewrite the script. So, time to wake up, everyone. We're going to keep doing what we're doing because we love it. But that's why we pulled out the performance bond and put in an action bond. Because we're the real. We're not actors. We're really God.
Islam. Now that you mentioned the bond, the payment bond, anytime you change the amount of the payment bond, that means what? I'm asking a layman's question. Like you say, if I'm going to lien a company $250 million, should that not express itself in that payment bond?
The payment bond should be the amount that is recorded on the books. So, for example, if it's for a domicile, okay, and you bond your domicile, whatever the market value is should be the payment amount. The payment portion of the bond should reflect that. However, the action part of the bond, which is a court action, should be the amount, the market value of the domicile, plus insurance, plus all of the things that are necessary. Because when you talk about domiciles, you're still talking about mineral rights underneath the domicile and things of that nature. And that's where the higher amounts come from in the bonds. But the payment amount should be paying off the market value of the domicile.
And the insurance and the reinsurance, which they are kin, there's a co-relationship between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So that amount, you're insuring that amount. It could be the house, it could be whatever.
We generally insure for 3 times the value, the market value.
Okay. So if you're doing, for example, Bank of America, the EIN number on it attached, so you actually are bonding up that said account, if you would.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If that's what your spirit leads you to bond, and do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my spirit is, because I took the lien value and I put that on the insurance bond. Like, for example, if I lien it for $250 million,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that insurance and that same amount of the $250 million on that insurance. I'll put that same amount on the reinsurance.
As long
As
as you can stand on and explain and show and share, not explain, but share that information competently.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps after more, it makes sense to me. So the numbers. Okay. Yeah. Here's one more question.
Mm-hmm.
That's been really, I've been asking the ancestors. Okay, answer this question. So I'm asking everybody in general on this Congress. The trust deed that you presented a while back, is that trust deed applicable to every court action that we do?
A trust deed is usually on a property.
On a property.
It's usually on a property. It's a deed. It's a trust deed. It's a deed on a property.
Okay.
So any demonstrations that you do regarding that property, of course, it's applicable.
Okay. It wouldn't be. I'm asking that question of everybody because everybody here is on different levels of growth. So when they get to that level of the bond and the trustee, they'll know it's strictly for property.
Not strictly for property. In trust law, you have a trust with everything. A trust deed is property related, but there are other trust proclamations that you make. In other words, all your other property should be in trust.
Okay. Absolutely.
And your person.
And your person. Oh. Okay. Islam. Pax Amor. Muchas gracias.
That's one of the 6 documents, is a proclamation of trust. That proclamation of trust in the first 6 documents that we encourage all Moors to place on the public record, those first 6 documents include a proclamation of trust that puts everything concerning you in the trust with all of us. Because all of our stuff, including Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and all of that, is all in trust. It's in our trust. That first trust document is the first time usually that people are introduced to trust law, and that's putting everything, including their person, in trust. That way that trust cannot be violated by foreign, alien interlopers. And then they must go ahead and continue to demonstrate that. Islam. I willed to make just a couple of statements in terms of notification in the spirit realm. One of those notifications in the spirit realm that the ancestors have encouraged us to state is the following. We, for those who will to know, why we've done all of this and where we're going with all of this as well in terms of assisting our brothers and sisters. We have an ancient notification and commissioning statement to remember. We have the same notification and commissioning statement that Yeshua had. Yeshua's mission statement was as follows: The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. Period. There should be a period there. Why? Because nothing that comes after that is going to matter if you can't tell people how not to be poor. Poverty is a choice. It's a choice. Poverty is a choice. With all this information, poverty is a choice. We have chosen wealth. We've chosen our estate. We've chosen healing and health. So we restated this briefly. Luke, the 4th chapter, verses 18 and 19 in the ancient Moorish Biblios Heliotext states as follows: We are the Lord's Spirit, for we are anointed to demonstrate the God spell to the poor. Empress Aisha is demonstrating the God spell to the poor, to all of those who've lost a domicile. She's demonstrating how to keep your domicile. We're all demonstrating the God spell to the poor. There are those here who may feel like they don't even have a domicile. You're literally demonstrating the God spell to those around you, and you're going to continue to demonstrate that, yes, they can have a domicile, they can have a place to stay, they can have a place of their choosing when things are done properly, when the God spell is demonstrated. We are here. We're here. We're not coming. This is not in the future. We're talking now to heal the broke in heart, because that's really where brokenness comes from. It comes from the heart and the mind first. And so does wealth. We are here to demonstrate deliverance to and assist the captives to be free from dead capitalism, and to assist the blind at sea to see and be free. We are here to set at liberty them that were enacted as bruised, and to share this acceptance year for the Lord's. This is the year where we accept all of our physically in this third dimension and all dimensions. We accept our vast estate. We accept possession. We accept the charge that is the office over everything and everyone. In terms of when we say everyone, we're talking everything and everyone who does not know who they are. Yeshua was wealthy and taught that we do not have to act poor anymore. And I say act poor anymore, and that's exactly what we were doing. We were acting poor. We don't have to act poor anymore. Another notification. Each one of us is a great prophet, just like our ancestors, such as Prophet Noble Drew Ali and others. Even Yeshua stated that these things and greater works shall you do. Every word that we speak is a prophecy. In our most relaxed and casual word, we prophesy most accurately because we are so relaxed. Keep that in mind as you relax and enjoy your estate, so that the estate remains with you and manifests and continues to manifest. Luke, the 1st chapter, verse 37. Because you are God, nothing is ever impossible, and no word from God shall be without power or impossible of fulfillment. Every word you speak has power. It's in the book. Joshua 1 and 8. And this is why we use court action language every time we speak. It says, the law shall always be spoken by thy mouth. Thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest do all that is written therein. For now thou shalt continue to make thy way prosperous, and now thou shalt continue to have good success. And we actually will change that word to perfect success. And we'll spell it in ancient English. Perfect success. Another couple of notifications. Why is the spiritual health a top priority for our nation? So when we first started doing this, I'll use this as an example. When we first started doing more science and we woke up to who we were, we met a couple of individuals who felt like, okay, Light, we see that you're getting these results, so just give us a checklist and we'll do everything on the checklist and we expect the same results you're getting. And we kept saying, there's a spiritual component. Don't forget the spiritual component. Don't forget the spirit. The spirit has to be clear and then filled with the 5 points of light: love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and others, wealth and prosperity, abundance. And the checklist thing happened, but they didn't see, if you put the spirit in what you're doing, as you put the spirit in what you're doing, let me state that way. As you put the spirit in what you're doing, the spirit will bring all things to your remembrance. That's why we must connect with the ancestors within us, because they will remind you of things that even as we're going, they're going to say, okay, put this in there, put this in your paperwork, put this in your affidavit, do this, do that. Because of the spirit realm. The spirit realm. Cultivating a healthy spirit life is the key to successful demonstrations. And that does not mean getting on your knees and praying to anybody. In fact, that getting on your knees and praying to someone outside of you is against the law. It's against the law, because you have no other guys before you, behind you, above you. You have no one, no other gods. It's you. God is you. So what are you meditating on? Your goodness and the things that you're demonstrating and have demonstrated and will demonstrate. We all ascend to all dimensions, to include our manifested wealth and estate, which is a dimension. We must have healthy, healing, giving, and receiving mechanisms for our spiritual energy under our control. We do not have the outlet that manifested in the funny mirror as emotional outbursts in a church, temple, mosque, or otherwise. So we don't have to roll under the benches at church. We don't have to yell, scream, and all of that to get our spiritual manifestations to manifest in the natural. Our energy vibrates much differently, much higher, and in a much more divine and intelligent frequency. Whatever that means to you, because it doesn't always mean the same thing with each one of us. For some people, it's going outside with no shoes on and grounding. For others, it's sitting just thinking on wealth and their estate and visualizing their estate because it's already here. We have terminated all dead presumed contracts, and we are the living gods forevermore. We announced our own commerce, in a 2-minute video on October the 17th, 2020, on our calendar. And really, there's only one calendar. The other was a suggestion. Article 3, justice rulings in our favor, and this is regarding the 100 million, and this is again information so that everyone will know how the $100 million manifested in our bank accounts and in our trusts. So here, I'll put these links in the chat. There's 3 links here where we ruled in our own favor. In other words, remember what we were stating about the banking system and justification, proper justification for the things that we do in terms of money appearing in our accounts. Because we don't have anyone over us saying, you can't put that in your account, you can't put 100 million in your account, yet you actually can when the system will recognize when it's done properly. Everything starts with a court action, including nationality. And those are done by each one who is nationalizing themselves, because we nationalize ourselves. So, as we're doing the things that we're doing and demonstrating, ancient prosperology science, and that's what we call it, prosperology. Seek ye first the empire within you, and all these things will be added unto you. Here are the 6 points of ancient prosperology. Ancient wealth science first is based on number 1, status. Who are you? You cannot access wealth if you're not entitled to it. Blacks are not entitled to wealth, so forget it. You must actually be of the bloodline and birthright. Who you state that you are entitles you or disqualifies you. It's by your own word. In the Biblios, it says, by thy word have you been ensnared. And for us, we have restated that. By our word, our wealth manifests. Number 2, your statements. Every word you utter matters. Number 3, your study. Number 4, your will. Number 5, your writings, which determines where, jurisdiction. And number 6, your work. So that is the who, what, why, how, where, and when of prosperity and wealth and estate. Okay? Proclaim who you are. Shed the previous fraudulent identity completely. Open your wealth trust from your ancestors. Learn to remember the ways of those who created the wealth, which is all of us, and then work by demonstrating all that you remember. Islam. And that is how prosperity and wealth is accessed, through the processes that we've placed on the public record. Process after process after process. Where it's just accessing another part of the estate. Here's a part, there's a part. Here's another part. Oh, here's another 100 million. Here's another 100 million. Here's some diamonds. Here's some gold. Here's some oil. Here's some heirs. Islam. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom from this great and illustrious and amazing Congress?
Islam. Did you make a written statement of the definition of prosperology?
I did not do a definition, but it is ancient wealth science. That's what it is. Ancient wealth science. Prosperology is ancient wealth science. And I did put that here. Let's see. Ancient wealth science, yes. Ancient wealth science based on the following. So this is the definition, the 6 points of ancient prosperology. It is ancient wealth science based on status, statements, study, will, writings, and work.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
And those are the seeds which we sow out
Yes.
the atmosphere to grow our wealth like
Yes.
a bountiful harvest
Yes.
that we can reap into perpetuity.
Yes. And the reaper will overtake the harvester and vice versa because there's so much.
There's abundance.
Yes. Yes.
Abundance.
This is our mission, is to preach the gospel to the poor.
Yes.
To preach the gospel to the poor. That is our mission. That is what we do.
And in that we are pouring out wealth because knowledge
Yes.
is wealth.
Yes.
Knowledge with action.
Yes. Therefore, it is both who you know and what you know.
And what you will.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
So we're preparing now to do the same thing that Yeshua did. See, in the last era, we were introduced to a quote unquote poor Jesus.
Yeah.
Someone who was so poor they didn't have any place to lay their head, so they had to go in a manger with some animals. When that's not really what happens with the Christ.
Islam. It was not. And you know, I have to say something right there. Because being in the ministry myself, okay, and preaching that never sat well with me. But I always found a way, because belief allows you to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, to justify, well, he didn't need material things. He didn't need this. He didn't need that because he's the son of God and blah, blah, you know, all this. I came up with every reason I needed to justify him being poor. Okay?
When he was
but
not.
I never accepted it. In my spirit, I never accepted it because I made a vow that said, you know what? You said if I serve you first and put the kingdom first, all other things will be added to me.
Yes.
All. And I'm going to put you to the test. You said test you out, and I'm going to test you out. This was from 2015 until now, today. And I have tested the Most High. I have tested the God inside of me, okay, that operates, that higher self. And guess what I never did? I never failed myself.
Yes.
I may have struggled, like you said. I may have had to eat beans and rice, but I ate something that was nutritious. And I was not starving. I did not have to live on the street. Okay? I lived in some shady places, but guess what? I was taken care of. And during that time period, I learned to not be in love with money.
Yeah.
And I basically learned to control that ego and basically just about kill it.
Yeah.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I learned all that from my trials and tribulation. So I can understand the Christ-like, that demeanor that is not ruled by the lower nature of materialism.
Yeah.
And yet you can have all things added to you.
Yes.
And all of that's about to manifest for me. It is manifest to me right now. Correction.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm still elated about it. Now, when you talk about this poor Jesus, look, I know that's not what was going on. That's what I had to speak because I've already experienced that. I lived that life. And now I see the results of just getting out of your mind the carnal nature, which is your lower self.
Yeah.
That the prophet talked about as well. Your higher and lower self. There's two parts of man. That's God and the devil. Okay? And the devil is in the details. The details is in that carnal nature. Just keep on going. You'll figure it out. But you can overcome that, and that's the point.
Yes.
Then your life begins and abundance is brought onto you.
Yes.
Without a guilty conscience either. That's the beauty
Yeah.
of it. Peace is
Yeah.
all about me. Peace.
Yeah.
Islam.
You know, thank you for that, Nobility. If Yeshua was poor, why were they fighting over his clothing when he was crucified? They actually gambled for his clothing to see who would get his clothing. They gambled for it. The Biblio says they cast lots for his wares, for his clothing. That's how expensive and pricey his clothing was. And nobody would have listened to him. In the Biblios, it says a poor man's words, and I'll have to paraphrase it, a poor man's words make it so that no one listens to him. A poor man's wisdom is never heard. That's what it says. A poor man's wisdom is not heard. Well, I stated to the ancestors that I'm willing to do all the work that has to be done in terms of, the manifestation of our estate. But I stated to them that what we state is far more believable when we can prove it and demonstrate it in our own lives. We can demonstrate our wealth. Because we could have told people all day, every day that they're the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. But if they have to beg for money when they can just print it, that's the difference. They're gonna have a hard time believing that. So the ancestors stated, they said, "Command you me," because that's in the Biblios. Even the Lord in the Biblios said, "Command you me." It's easier to state those things when we can prove it, because really it is about that for us, is proving to ourselves that the words that we state are truth. We know that they're truth now because we have proven it, or we wouldn't be sitting here. The ancestors are making it so that we can prove everything. Everything is being manifested. Regarding banking, regarding money, but we had to be willing to go out. Some people say go out on a limb. We didn't really go out on a limb when we created, agreed to create Delarium, all of us. Or when we agreed to vote on banking, we were voting on things that people didn't even think we could do. We could say, we could command. But now the systems are doing what they should be doing. The systems are showing that we command the systems. So with that being stated, we're going to continue doing what we're doing. We are going to put together, as we go, we want to continue to keep nationality in the forefront of our message. Yes, we have banking. Yes, we have commerce. Yes, we have our own money. Nationality and proper status is first and foremost in order to even access any of that. So are there any other questions, comments, wisdom regarding any of the things that the Congress has discussed today? Islam. Peace. We will adjourn until Thursday at 7 p.m. And at some point we may even take another break. Because we will to do more with the commerce that we're doing. We will to increase our catalog, our magazine. So, but we'll talk about that in an upcoming Congress. We will meet at 7 on Thursday. And if there's nothing further, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Peace is grand rising.
Islam, peace and grand rising.
Grand
Back
rising.
to that number.
Is that too much?
Vinny and Bonnie.
Thank
That's
you.
too
Islam.
much success to you. Much love.
Peace and grand rising
Islam.
to the original speaker.
Indeed.
Islam.
Thank you.
Islam. Islam.
Love you,
Thank you,
Light.
everyone.
Grand rising.
Love you too, Empress Islam.
Thank you so much, my love.
Love you, Empress.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
God, such bullshit.
I thought they were gone from here. I thought they were gone. They sat and listened for hours.
Trying to get it in.
Yeah, for hours. If it's
They're trying to learn something.
for hours, why would you sit here for hours if that's what it is to you?
Yeah, and if we were all just idiots following some useless, baseless token, why are you still here for all this time?
They're so funny. Islam.
Yeah.
We love them. We love them. We're going to pat them on the head and tell them we love them. We love them.
That
Islam.
is funny.
God,
Goodbye.